having been to the announcement?
Yeah, obviously, ever since Qatar won the right to host this 2022 World Cup now 9 years ago, there's been a lot of focus on just what will the conditions be like for fans out here, knowing that there are restrictions on particularly the sale of alcohol. You can get it here in hotels, but there aren't street side bars. There isn't drinking in the streets. Very different from some other World Cup experiences. And whenever the Qatari organisers do make themselves available for interviews and questionings, very often this focus on the availability of alcohol. One of the things is it's quite expensive here. It's about £10 for a pint, but there are bars. And the questions that many fans will have is just how available will it be? Will there be the fan zones where you can drink in 2022?
Do you suspect that'll probably be the case?
Yeah, I think they will create particular areas for the visiting fans that do allow them to drink. But at the same time, the Qataris say, look, it's a different culture out here. It has to be respected. And there have been tournaments where there are restrictions on alcohol in Europe. At Euro 2016 in France, because of the fan disorder, it was very hard to get a drink in and around England games. So it's not something that's unique to the Middle East in terms of restrictions. And FIFA themselves had to get an exemption from the law in Brazil to ensure that you could drink in stadiums there.
There's a story in one of the tabloids today which is suggesting that there might be, boats that are slightly off the coast, a kind of almost like a kind of Radio Caroline situation, out of the reach of the legal authorities, where fans might be able to go back to the boat that's moored up and have a bit of a party on there. I mean, I don't know if that's logical, because presumably there would still be some laws applying to whoever came into their kind of territory.
I think the use of cruise ships are actually to relieve some of the burden on the hotel infrastructure here as well. The Qatari organisers are also talking about using camping facilities in the desert, as indeed we had quite a bit of camping at the World Cup in 2006 when in Germany.
Yeah.
One of the key issues facing the organisers is the fact that when this World Cup was won in 2010, there was this vision for a World Cup across the region, not necessarily using other countries as to host games, but you could have fans flying in from Dubai and other countries. But for now, over 2 years, the boycott of Qatar by the likes of the UAE and Saudi have been in place, which limits and restricts any air traffic between the countries. So if that does hold now for the next 3 years, it means you can't have fans flying in from Dubai. So you do need things like the camping, like cruise ships potentially, to fit the fans in the country.
I remember some of those. I went to Germany when the World Cup was on there, and they were kind of interesting places. That's one way of describing it, during the World Cup. I just wonder, how much of an advert is this all becoming? Go to Qatar, maybe get a drink. It might cost you a tenner. When you get there, you might have to adapt your behaviour culturally anyway. And then while you're at it, go and camp in the desert. I mean, how attractive is some of this all sounding right now to you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a very different World Cup experience it will be, because it will be in November, December rather than June, July. It obviously means many from Europe will be able to escape the winter heat to come out here. Obviously, this has been a World Cup that's been beset by questions. It was a tournament that was sought by Qatar to project a new image of the country, to project soft power as well. But with it has come this intense focus on human rights, on worker rights, particularly the migrant workers as well, who've built this country up to cope with the infrastructure needed for events like this World Athletics Championships, like the World Cup as well. So they've had this intense pressure to actually change legislation at the same time. But yeah, it will be a very different experience, but one, given the size of the country, that will allow fans to go to potentially 2 games in a day, because things are so close by.
Do you enjoy it out there?
I mean, obviously I'm here journalistically to report on it. This visit I've been for a couple of days. It's obviously a different experience. As a journalist, you actually hope